Thank you, Annette, and good afternoon. It's an honour for us all to be here to get behind CRU and support the great work that they do. And I'm sure nearly all of us here have a personal connection with CRU. And as you heard, mine goes back a few decades to when I had the chance of leading on a number of camps and saw firsthand the impacts of Crusaders with young people. But 3 decades on, I've now got children. I just had my boy who's in Year 12 attend one of those study camps, and I was asking him at length when he got back how he found it, and I was just delighted to hear and to see the profound impact that the camp had on him, indeed as they had on me some decades back. I know some of you have gone a step beyond that, and you've got grandchildren that attend CRU camps, and what a great honour that is, and that intergenerational connection and opportunity we have, responsibility we have, is great indeed. Well, thinking about 3 decades ago, it was then, just after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when the Berlin Wall was coming down and the geopolitics of our world was changing, that the US military came up with a new term, an acronym, to describe the phenomena they were seeing. VUCA was the term, VUCA, which stood for volatility and uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. True back then, even more true to describe these times, our times. It was a few years ago that the Prime Minister of Canada at the World Economic Forum said, "The pace of change has never been this fast, yet it will never be this slow again." Profound words indeed, and all of that was before COVID and the acceleration of the pace of change that it, of course, has brought. Well, amidst all of this, we've got a young generation growing up and being shaped in such volatile and uncertain, complex and ambiguous times. We surveyed Australians late last year to see how they travelled through 2020. I mean, what a year it was. It was a year that saw the unprecedented use of the word unprecedented. So that tells us something about our times. I'm sure we're all hoping that 2021 will be precedented times. We could do with some more of those. But it was a challenge for the majority of Australians. 57% of Australians said 2020 has been the most difficult year of my life. We dug into the sentiments of how they have found the year and indeed how they are travelling. The top 2 responses from baby boomers was that they were feeling vulnerable, yet hopeful. With Generation Z, those in their older teenage years and early 20s, the top responses were anxious, frustrated, and overwhelmed. While we're all living through these times, the age at which we're exposed to global pandemic or new technology or changing social trends determines how embedded it becomes in one's psyche and attitude and lifestyle. And so the fingerprints of COVID are indeed marked on this younger generation. The proportion of Australians that said they were feeling extremely or very uncertain about the future was, for baby boomers, 27%, but for Generation Z, 51%. The impacts upon them have been greater because they haven't been around the block as many times. They don't have as broad a context into which to place these current experiences, and so that anxiety and sense of overwhelm is what they've been expressing. In tough times, as we've seen historically, whether it be the Great Depression or the war years, we see people, and particularly Australians, look beyond themselves and look to answers and meaning, search often in the area of faith. And this was the case for Australians in this period as well. Almost half of Australians, because of COVID-19, say that they have thought more about the meaning of life. A similar proportion, almost half, said that they have thought in the last year more about their own mortality. 1 in 3 Australians say they have thought more about God in this period. 5 times as many Australians say they have prayed more than those that said that they prayed less. 4 times as many said that they have had more spiritual conversations in the last 12 months than those who said they have had less. 3 times as many of Australians said that they have read their Bible more in the last year compared to those who said they have read it less. There is a sense in tough and anxiety-bringing times that Australians are looking for deeper answers. And for a young generation in such a time, praise God for CRU that can be there in their schools and in their moments of searching to give meaningful and lasting answers. And so what a theme we're reflecting on here this afternoon, going the distance. In my younger years, perhaps because I lacked sense or had too much time on my hands, I signed up for a few marathons. And the theme, going the distance, brings back visceral memories of my experiences out there trying to complete these 42-kilometre runs. And, whether it be a marathon on a road or whether it be the marathon of life, there are three things that we need. They all start with P, and the first is purpose. If you've signed up for a long run, you need to have a purpose, a commitment indeed, to finish that thing. And of course, it's the same in life. Young people need to know that they are here for a purpose, that they're not just an accident, they're not just here by cosmic chance, but they've been created by a relational God. The journey ahead for them will be tough and long, will contain many hills and valleys, and they need to know that they have been created by a heavenly Father, a loving Father, and that they've been created on purpose and for a purpose. It's hard to complete the marathon of life without having such a purpose. Now, we have a generation that are given abundant opportunities. They are more resourced than any previous generation. I mean, think about their experience. They're the most educated generation in history. They're the most technologically endowed generation ever, the most materially supplied generation ever, the most globally connected, the most empowered generation of young people our world has ever seen. And yet knowing you have support and opportunities is not the same as knowing you have a purpose. Indeed, how sad to have countless opportunities, but no clear sense of purpose. We surveyed Generation Z last year, and we asked them, what are your top fears? And I have here the top 5 fears of young Australians in our era. The first 2 were around finances, and we're talking about a generation that are easing out of their study years and easing into the working years. And so it's understandable that, number 1 here, I won't have enough money to live comfortably with, or this next one, never being able to afford my own home. These are visceral fears for this generation as they look around and start thinking about their own financial trajectory. But what was most gripping for me were the next 3 fears. Not being able to reach my full potential, being stuck in a job that I don't enjoy or find fulfillment in, not making a difference with my life. Seeking potential, looking for fulfillment and wanting to make a difference in life. These are the top 3 fears, or indeed ambitions for this generation, a generation looking for purpose. And to finish the race, to go the distance, we need that. Paul, through his epistles, was clear on purpose. To the church at Colossae, he writes, "My purpose is that you might be encouraged in heart and united in love, so that you may have the full riches of a complete understanding, in order that you may know the mystery of God, namely Christ, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge." For a generation looking for treasure and wondering about their future, Paul's purpose, may that be theirs, to find Christ. Secondly, we need a plan. I mean, it's one thing to have a purpose to finish a race, but you need a plan as to how you are going to get there. I'm sure many of us have participated in the City to Surf in this city. And if you've got a purpose to finish, but you've got no plan, you might do the bolt down William Street and be out of breath by the time you get to the King's Cross Tunnel. Maybe tap out at that point. If you make your way to Double Bay there at the first drink station and down 3 or 4 Gatorades, it's unlikely we'll see you at Bondi, because you've got to have a plan and you've got to work out the strategy to get there. This is the options generation. They have more flexible pathways, post-schooling than ever before. They're told that there is no wrong door, and there are, again, these opportunities for them. And it's great to have these multiple options and career pathways. It's great to know that it's not job for life, that if things aren't working out, they can have multiple jobs, indeed careers. But amidst all of that choice in life, as in the Christian walk, it's important to have a plan. The National Church Life Survey data tells us that 4 in 5 Australians who are in churches in this nation came to faith before the age of 20. And what a gift that is, to come to faith as a young person and to find out that not only is there a purpose for life, but you can have a plan for life. In fact, not just adding God to your plan for life, but finding and getting onto God's plan for your life. And that is what CRU is on about in the schools and in the camps week by week in this nation, helping this generation of young people at the time we know they are most acute to seeking spiritual truth. At this period that we know that most who come to faith will come to faith in that age group, are seeking a purpose and indeed can be guided towards a plan for life, a plan that they can give their life to, a plan that won't let them down. I guess the third P, it's great to have a purpose to finish and a plan as to how you're going to get there, but you need people around you. You need people to spur you on. There is that great African proverb that says this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we know that in life and in the Christian journey as well. The writer to the Hebrews is clear on this as he exhorts, let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. We all need that encouragement to continue on. We all need to be spurred on to go the distance, but how much more these young people, amidst the challenges of the peer group they are in, amidst the options and temptations that face them, and again, the unrelenting pressure of these changing times. And so to spur them on, to encourage them, empower them to spur each other on, is the work of CRU, and what a great work they do. And so, with a purpose to finish and a plan as to what life is about and what we might do, and with people around us to spur us on, I think we can all go the distance, and this generation particularly. Let me conclude with how the writer to the Hebrews continues 2 chapters later in chapter 12. He says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. It's great that we're called not just to persist, to just continue on, but to persevere, which is persistence amidst adverse challenges and pressures, to persevere amidst and despite the circumstances, and knowing that we don't persevere in our own efforts, but indeed it is Christ who is our purpose and plan, who is the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. May you be an encourager and empowerer of the next generation of Australians as they run their race and indeed finish their race with their eyes fixed on him. Amen.